Okay lads, this is the question we're going to looking at today. So if we look at the question, it's saying they want an elevation looking in the direction of arrow A. Arrow A is pointing to the left, so the elevation is going to go into the left. As we can see, the full width of the elevation is 125, which is very important. That means that my width of my plan will be 125, and we'll be multiplying that then by 95. We've a side view looking in the direction of arrow B, so that's going to go on the right hand side, and then we're going to have a plan projected from A. We're going to have a freehand curve here as well, so we're going to initially start with that and then work on our auxiliary second of all. So right. So we're starting down at the very bottom of the page. The reason we're starting at the very bottom is so everything will fit in. So we've got 125, and we have a 38, 72 and 15. And from this side here on our left, we're going to go straight up, and on this we're going to measure a 30, 20 and 45. And from these points we're going to go horizontally over. Okay, what we have here is an angle of 55 degrees. This 55 is going to be measured from this here. Now as we can see, the angle is measuring this side. So when we get our protractor, we're going to line it up like this. Measure 55 and draw in my nice angled line. Now I can draw this dark once I have it drawn in, because I know that that will go in dark. Happy days. Now these two lines I'm going to bring straight up, and I can darken in this bit here down at the bottom. The next thing I want to get is this little distance here, which is 15. I'm going to measure in this 15 here, and I'm getting that 15 from this point. Bring this straight over, and by bringing that straight over, that's given me this point here. Okay, now that's my surface S. That's my surface S completely and utterly finished. So I can line up my ruler, and that there is my edge view, which is very important that we label it. Okay, so my edge view. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here at the back. I've got a rectangle which is 15 by 40. I have my 15 here. Measure my 40. So that's this rectangle there that I've just drawn. Now I'm going to get the bigger rectangle, which is telling me to come out 20 from here. So that's me. I've measured out 20, and then up here I'm told this is 45. Check that. Now, can't draw this bit in here yet dark, but I can join these 2 points. Okay, so the next thing I can draw here is I have a 20 that's here. So I can measure that 20 and just get a line here. Now obviously this is all I can do now for my plan, so I'm going to move up here my XY line, and I'm going to bring up all my points up to my elevation. Now I have heights here. I'm going to work with the heights on the left first. I have a 30, a 12, a 38 and a 20. Okay, and from each of these points I'm going to come across. Now my height of this up here, I'm going to draw that in dark. All of this side here is going to go in dark. Now, I have a radius 38 circle here, and I know that it's going to touch this point here, and I've already measured in 38, which should give me this point here. It does. So this is my center point. That point right there is my center point. I'm going to get my compass, point to my compass on my center point. Happy days. And bring this point down here. Okay. The next thing I'm going to be able to do is I need to get this slant. I want to get this slant. Now, first I'm going to get this step, which is this rectangle. So I'm looking for this rectangle, which is this coming from here and here. I'm told to measure up a 20. So over here I'm going to measure up 20. Go across. And that gives me that rectangle there. I now have a smaller rectangle on the top, and that's coming from this bit. And that gives me the smaller rectangle. Now I know this bit here continues. So just to show you my surface S, which is this shape, it's all of this shape here in my elevation. Now, next thing I want to get is I want to get this bit here, and I'm told that there's a height of 20. This point is going to connect to this point, and what that's also going to allow me to do is, we know that this face touches this face, so in my elevation I can now extend that face, and it gives me a point here. I can now bring this point down, and that point, when it's brought down, gives me the start of this. Now, my center point comes down to there. This is going to come straight to here. Lovely. And I'm actually going to have a freehand curve here, which is going to come to this point here. Okay, we're going to leave that at the moment, but it's the 20, it's going to come to here. So I do have a dark line. Now that dark line that I've just drawn, which is this dark line here, that's this line here. This bit is this bit here. So all I'm missing is this freehand curve, which I obviously can't get yet. I have to get my side view. So I'm just going to minimize this a little bit. Okay, come over here now to my side view. Bring all my points from my plan over to my 45-degree line. You can't leave any point behind here. And when every single one of them touches my 45-degree line, we're going to bring them up, straight up for my side view. Now, every point from my elevation is going to come over. And we need to start drawing our shape. Now, I'm going to start off with a nice easy bit. This rectangle here at the very top, well, it's here in my elevation, so it means it's going to be at this height, and it's here in my plan. So when I follow it up, that's going to give me a straight line from here to here. Now I'm looking in from this side. I'm going to have a lovely dark line going the whole way down here. Okay, that's lovely. Now the next thing I'm going to get is my surface S. So if we look at our surface S, we follow it over. Going to give it a straight line. Going to go over, down, and over. So that bit there now is my surface S, which I'll be looking for again in the auxiliary view. Alright, so on my surface S, next thing I want to get is this fella. So I know he comes straight over for this 20. This 20 is to here. That gives me that, that's lovely. I know I have a 20 at this height. So over here this is 20, and I have it right there. And what's going to happen now is I'm going to connect this point to this point, and that gives me this face, which is at an angle. So this point to this point, and yet again, lads, that's giving me this face. Now the next thing to happen is I need to get this angle here. So how am I going to get this point? If I bring this followed over, followed up, this comes straight up to there, straight over to there, and then we're going to join these 2 points, and that gives me my side view. Finally, I have to find my freehand curve in my plan. Now, I'm going to get random points. So 30 degrees, 60 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to label this using my marker. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 points. I have 4 points. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to bring my 4 points over here, excuse me, to my side view. So, now, very important to realise that we have a start and a back, so a front and a back. So, that's going to give me point 1 here, point 2, point 3, and point 4. But it's also going to give me a point 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. So, they're my 4 points. Now, I need to find them in my plan. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, from my side view, bring point 1 down. It's on this line. So, if I follow 1 down, if I follow 1 down, this gives me point 1 here. Likewise, I also already have 4. So, if I bring 4, I need to bring point 4 down. Where 4 hits, bring it across. That's grand. Sorry, that's not point 4, my apologies, I've made a mistake there. This is point 4, sorry. So 4 is obviously this point here. Apologies. Now, I need to find my points down here. So I'm going to bring down point 2. Now point 2 is on this line, so it comes down. I'm going to bring point 2 down here. 2 across. And 2 hits 2 right there. That's point 2. Point 3 comes down. 3 also comes down. Excuse me. 3 comes over. There's point 3. Once I have my points, I'm going to do a freehand curve to join them together. And that gives me my curve. Now, it's very important to realise that we also have a point 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. That's very important. That's at the back. So they're at the back here. Whereas this 1, 2, 3, and 4 are at the front. Okay, lads, if we look at the question now, part D is draw an auxiliary elevation of the surface S when it's through a true shape. So I'm just going to make this really small just to move it out of our way. So all we need to see is the shape, let's say. Okay, so this is our shape now. My auxiliary must look straight in here. I have to look in here, okay, to get the best view. So my x1, y1 is going to be parallel to this line. That is absolutely vital that it's parallel. So I can get my set squares. I'm going to line them up. And as soon, just there, just as I clear my side view, I'm going to draw me my x1, y1 line. Now, the x1, y1 line, as we know, lads, is the ground, the same way the xy line is ground. So we're going to label x1, y1. So that's the x1, y1 line. And this view is called the auxiliary elevation. So we have the auxiliary elevation. Now, what I was explaining to do in the last day in class, which makes a lot of sense, is to come over here to the side and draw a random line. Your random line can be anywhere at all on the line, but it must be perpendicular to your x1, y1 line. What I now want you to do is take the heights that are in your elevation and mark them on this line. Every single height. By doing this, it makes your job a little bit easier. So next we get 4, and when we get the 4, we're going to label it so we know exactly where it is. We don't have to go looking for it. The height of 3. 2. 1. And then finally the overall height here. Just mark it off there. Now, in our actual elevation, we drew lines that were horizontal. These have a parallel relationship with the xy line. In our auxiliary elevation, this is our x1, y1 line, which is also the ground. So from each of those height points, I'm going to draw a line parallel to the x1, y1 line. Technically, as we know from class, these are horizontal lines because they are parallel to the ground. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm taking the height and I'm marking the height off to save me doing it for every individual part I bring up. Now I might be a little bit caught for space, but we'll see how we're getting on. The first shape I'm going to look at is obviously my edge view. If we look at our edge view, it looks like a rectangle with a little step in it. Excuse me. So I'm going to bring up one of my points so far. Now as I bring it up, I know that the height of this will stop at this point here. So I can draw this dark, which saves me a lot of hassle. Now I'm going to line up, instead of doing perpendicular, I'm just going to do sliding set squares for these bits. So slide and slide. Now they didn't extend enough, so we're going to just extend them a little bit more. This fella is going to come to there, and this fella here is going to come all the way up there to there. So we're going to get him now, and that there is my true shape. Once we have the true shape, I'd like a nice little horizontal line. We're going to write on it TRUESHAPE and get the colour and pencil. I'm going to colour it in to show the corrector that we have identified the true shape in all of the views. So as we can see in our plan, it's an edge view. In our elevation, we have our obstructed view, the side view, obstructed view, but this is our true shape and we look straight in. Next, I'm going to get these two little steps here, which would be this point and this point rounded up. Yet again, I have the heights already marked off, which makes my job a lot easier. So I'm going to bring this up to there. It's going to give me a dark line for that bit. And we'll line it up. And this point down here. You'll notice I'm continuing on the construction lines. That's so that the corrector can see exactly where you got every line from. It just makes the drawing look far superior. So that gives us that little bit there. The next bit, I'm going to get this little face here, which is obviously these 2 points with a height of this. So it's going to be just there, just there. Brilliant. Now I want to get this face, which is this face here, and as we know, that's going to touch it. So essentially I just need these 2 points. Now I think I'm going to have a problem here. I am going off my page, so I'm just going to get a little bit of scrap paper. Okay, so I've attached a little bit of paper, so I'm just going to extend these lines because I'm going to need them a little bit further out. Now, so we're back to this face now again, just here. Now I have these 2 points, which are here. I want to find these 2 points, which go the whole way up to the top. Let's get my long set square. And just slide. That's going to give me a point here. And just fill it to there. So we're just going to join them. Okay, so that, lads, has given me this face here, which is lovely. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this little small face here. Now, I already have this side of it, but I want to get this point. Okay, I'm going to get this point now. Now, I also have... Okay, lads, so I've just noticed a tiny mistake I've made. This 0.4, when I brought it down, I accidentally said this was 0.4. It obviously is not. 0.4, when I bring it down here, is this point here. So just sorry, my apologies about that again. Just saw that there. That's why it's so important to see everything. So that's our curve there. Now, when we brought that brings over, we can actually... Okay, that's lovely. That's going to give us this point here as well. So we want to just get these. That's grand. Now, the next thing I'm going to look at is I want to get my curve. Now, I'm going to have 2 curves to get. I'm going to get the curve at the back first. So I am the curve at the back first. Now, to get the curve at the back first, I have the heights. I'm just going to extend them on. Now, I'm I'm going to move this down a little bit just so you can see perfectly what's happening. So parallel to these lines, 1. So 1 is coming all the way to here. 2. There we go, 2, 3, and 4. And when we get these points, I'm going to join them together to get our freehand curve, and that's points 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we also have to get these points, which are at the same height as we know. So 1 up here, 2, 3, and finally 4. Now you'll notice this curve is going to look very different because it's cut at a slant. So that's going to come up there, and it's because it's got a slant that these look like two different curves. So that's that bit there. Next, okay, what's going to happen next is this point comes all the way down to the ground here, which is point 4 here. Okay, not this point on the ground here. So this is going to come across that, and this here we're just going to join them like that. So that's just going to join like that, like a slant. Over this side, it's going to just continue onto the ground. Okay, that's lovely. Now, up at the top here, this point 1 will stop here. And I can darken in my full shape like that then, so that's lovely. Now, the next point I'm looking for is this point here, which is this point. I'm going to bring this up. And that's going to hit at the height of this. So that's going to join to here. This comes straight over and straight down. So that little rectangle you've got there is that lovely shape, and this here. Now the final bit, these 2 points. There's that point there, which is lovely. Now finally next we just need this back point. Just going to be up here. So this is going to join to there. We have a line obviously dark on the top, and finally this very back point, we're not going to see it, so and that's a full auxiliary question. Okay, that's everything fully 100% done. Alright, hopefully that helps, lads.